Think we're on, guys. Give me a quick second. Just like that, we're live. Welcome back to another live session. It's Mike Maltzer here. Super excited. Let me turn the microphone this way. It's gonna be in the frame. Anyway, guys, super excited as always that you're here. Thanks so much for joining us live. Just gonna check in the feed as I normally do. I know some of you guys that watch the replay, you're annoyed by this, but I like to know how we're working out here in the live chat. So if you guys are here and you can hear me, hit that like button. Just let me know or type something in the comment bar. So I was on Jimmy Moore's. I was honored to be on Jimmy Moore's as speaker, Deanna and I. Deanna, say hello. Deanna's over there cooking away. Actually, Deanna, while we're getting some folks on, do you all want to see what we're having for dinner, what Deanna cooked for us? You might enjoy it. Deanna, do you mind bringing the plates over? Not like this instant, but sometime. She made some amazing ground lamb mixed in with a bunch of herbs and onions and then some mushrooms, and she's doing a lot of cool stuff. We'll have some ebooks, guys, over at courses.high intensity health launching next Monday, I believe. But hey from Singapore, hey, everyone's here. All right, so Deanna's gonna bust out the dinner. She's eating. So
Want to know what's in here?
let me go like this. So
Yeah,
guys,
I'm sure.
it's gonna be hard to see. I'm gonna zoom in. Hopefully the autofocus will get there. Oh yeah, can you guys see that?
Do you want me to explain?
Yeah, why don't you explain?
So there's grass-fed lamb in there with onions.
Come over here right under the microphone.
Grass-fed lamb with onions. There's a mixture of seasonal mushrooms, chanterelle, and oyster.
Oh yeah, there we go.
And I sauteed them and some goodies, and then some radicchio in there, and then some avocado.
Oh, that's avocado. So that's just chanterelles right there, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Who likes mushrooms? So we're on a mushroom kick because you know what? It's mushroom season, friends. Come on, autofocus. There we go. So Deanna, you want to bring it back?
Yeah.
So it's mushroom season. Mushrooms are actually more like an animal than a vegetable. I used to think they were vegetables, but they're not. They're very elaborate. We're growing some mushrooms right behind the camera. Can't show you, but if you want me to do a video on how to grow mushrooms, again, not that I'm an expert, but I would love to share with you things that I'm learning along the way, both psychedelic mushrooms and also medicinal mushrooms like lion's mane, shiitake. We have oyster mushrooms, a few other ones going. So back in May, and I'm going to get to your questions very quickly. We had some great questions. You know, one of the questions I get asked all the time is, it's crazy I get asked this question so much on direct message and on YouTube, is about, does coffee stop the fast? Deanna, do you get that in the clinic?
All the time.
People really want to know what substances, what liquids, what foods stop your fast. And so I'll get to that in a minute. Some questions did come in, I just saw in the chat, about, was it cortisol related to fasting and things like that? So we're going to get to those. But Deanna and I spoke on Jimmy Moore's low carb cruise back in May. And I've been waiting to make this video for a long time. And I thought, you know what? Why not just do it tonight? It's Veterans Day. I want to honor all of our veterans, anyone that served for our country. Both my grandfathers were in the Marines, and I want to just thank everyone for their service. I know a lot of you were in the military, Marines. We have family in the Navy and Air Force. So just want to send out my gratitude to anyone that served for our country, for the United States, and anywhere throughout the world. You know, I know it's Remembrance Week too, this whole week in Canada as well. You know, so many people sacrifice so much to avoid tyranny, to gain more freedom and so forth. And it's interesting, right, that there's really not a lot of regulation about food. Food companies, big food is marketing to our children. And I think, you know, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, people that lost our lives for freedom would be rolling in their graves if they knew that their grandchildren and great-grandchildren were being marketed to by big food companies. And I saw, unfortunately, a really good, oh man, I gotta check something on here. I forgot to do one thing, and now my audio should be better. I think our grandparents, great-grandparents, anyone that served would be rolling in their graves if they knew that our children and their grandchildren and so forth were being marketed to by big food. And I saw this was a very poignant example in Mexico when I went, we were there again in May, and I've been wanting to share this footage with you. So I went grocery shopping. I'm gonna pull it up right now, and we're gonna hit play, then we're gonna talk about it. Let me find it, if I can find it. It's on Instagram. Sorry, it's on my Dropbox folder that I label here, Instagram. I'm gonna drop it in, and we're gonna talk about it. So, hold on. It's about 2 minutes long. Let me just make sure we're good, guys, because the feed over here is telling me that it's not good, but I hope it is good. And then we're gonna play it right now. Hold on, give me just a quick second. Let me just see what you guys are saying over here on my phone. Hello, 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 hello. Do you guys harvest your own shrooms? We do, yeah. All right, so here we go. We're gonna go shopping in Mexico. Let me hit play right now. Then we're gonna talk about it. I will address your questions very, very soon. So here we go. boxes are huge. Huge, look at that. It's like 24 inches long. All right, guys, we're back. Let me just make sure I clear that layer so it's not still going. So what'd you think of that? Yeah, you know, here's some things that you saw what I saw. Some things that I thought were pretty interesting. Just gonna make sure that we're on, that we're live, that there's no background noise. Let me know, type in the comment bar if you hear anything in the background. And if you want more travel vlogs like this, just let me know. I'm totally open to doing this. As you know, I travel a lot for this podcast, for this channel, and want to take you guys along if you're so interested. But what really disappointed me was all the refined oils. So there was a lot of canola, cottonseed oil, refined soybean oil. There was a ton of oils. And so it's saddening that, you know, the influence within, and I wasn't around in Mexico 300 years ago, so I don't know what seed oils or what oils were used, but I would imagine it was just like in the States, it was mostly lard, mostly butter, things like that, cream. But it was a lot of these highly oxidizable oils were everywhere. And the foods, it was these American-sized food, these boxes, they were like 24 inches big. They were massive, these boxes of cereal and other processed foods, highly enriched in sugar and so forth, were ubiquitous. They were everywhere. They're right in the center of the aisles, showcased very poignantly for everyone to see. And I just got this sad feeling because, you know, there's this perception outside the U.S., especially among younger kids, and I've been to Asia and so forth, the younger folks want to be like Americans, unfortunately, which is, I mean, I understand that in some level. There's a lot of popular pop culture and music, gaming apps, technology, things like that do stem from the US that people are attracted to, especially young children and so forth. But there was a lot of direct to, you know, young adolescents they were being advertised to by these food companies and showing like famous soccer players, or, you know, it was like Pop-Tarts and, you know, some other, you know, just Oreos and all these things. These are American-based foods that are being advertised and endorsed, unfortunately, by Hispanic athletes, so that kids think that this is healthy. So parents think it's healthy, so they want it. Man, like I said earlier, because it's Veterans Day, our veterans, people that fought for anyone throughout the world, fought for their country, their region, would be disappointed now, you know, that they were fighting for freedom, yet their children are being marketed to, and the parents are being deceived by people with a for-profit interest that have there's no ramification for giving a child diabetes or obesity because they're being marketed to in an unscrupulous manner, in my estimation. So that was the negative side. On the positive side, what was interesting is you saw the chicken, the fish and so forth was just out there in the open. And I thought that was pretty cool because you're eating, you know, it's all like, as Kate Shanahan and other folks have talked about on this channel, you know, you're getting whether it's meat or fish, the bone in, right? So you're getting all the organs. It's not totally boneless, skinless tilapia, boneless, skinless chicken breast. Like as you saw, the chickens were all in a bag. It was just like the whole chicken with the heart, the liver, the kidney, the whole thing, man. You had to deal with all that. You had to debone it. You had to cook it that way. So I think from that aspect, if you're going to eat animal protein, you're getting the most micronutrient from that, right? The same thing was with the fish and the pork as well. You just pull the pork and put it in a bag, and they weigh it upon checkout. And the reason why I went there is we ran out of soap. One important thing when we travel, shoot, Deanna, I don't have the soap with me. If you don't mind getting the Dr. Bronner soap in the bathroom. Friends, when you travel, it's good to bring your own chemical-free soap because they put a lot of parabens and fragrances in soap. And that stuff alters your hormones. It alters your blood sugar levels. It's really bad for women and children because these things persist. They're literally termed in medical research, they're termed persistent organic pollutants because they persist in your body and persist in the environment. So our soap, we have this Dr. Bronner's. It's not the only soap in the whole wide world that does not have parabens and persistent organic pollutants and fragrances and so forth, but it's one that's relatively ubiquitously available, minimal ingredients. So we ran out of soap. So I went to the grocery store and I was like, well, I do want to see what's in the grocery store. So I brought my camera with me and I was like, well, I'll buy some avocados. I'll try and buy some nuts if I can. We bought some fish. It was like a mix of calamari and so forth that you saw. It was raw. It was really good. And I really wanted this soap. I just wanted fragrance-free soap. Gosh darn it, that's all I wanted. And I couldn't find any fragrance-free soap. So that was red flag number one. It was all American products that were loaded with fragrances. What you'll see is when you look on your soap, it's really at the bottom of the other ingredients. There'll be sodium laurate and all these fats, to saponify things. That's what creates the soap. And then the bottom ingredient is gonna be fragrances and parabens. And that was very commonly found in all the soap products that I ran into. And I was so disappointed that I couldn't find any fragrance-free soap. So I was like, all right, well, let's go look around. And then I saw the monster cereal boxes being endorsed by South American athletes. I saw all kinds of yucky stuff. If I wanted to buy coconut oil, there was barely any coconut oil or anything. It was a lot of the oxidized oils, which, by the way, if I didn't mention it, a video that's dropping tomorrow with James DiNicolantonio, part 2, we're going to talk all about oxidized oils, omega-3 fats, how you can burn fat by ingesting more omega-3 fats. It's a great discussion. So sadly, friends, big American food companies that don't have your health in mind are becoming distributed globally. And we're seeing the impact now with young children in various parts of the world. They're following the same trends that we see in North America, in US and Canada, where children are now, remember in school, when you first took biology, I know all of us probably took biology in high school, and I remember, I think I was in 7th grade or 8th grade, I can't remember, but I remember hearing that there was type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. And type 1 diabetes happened to children. It was an autoimmune destructive disorder against the pancreas to where the pancreas cannot, manufacture insulin. And we were taught, this was not that long ago, I'm 36 years old, I'm not that old yet. We were taught that type 2 diabetes only happens in adults. And guess what? We're now calling this, it used to be called adult onset diabetes. Now we're seeing a lot of children that need insulin, that need metformin, that need blood sugar stabilizing drugs, sulfonylureas, and many others. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Why is that? Because the parents are busy, they don't know, they don't have degrees in nutrition, they're not interested like you guys. So I want all of you to go out and share this message with the world. This needs to get out there because your neighbors, the people you care about, people in your community don't know this stuff. Their parents don't know this stuff. And I have a young child myself and they want the sugar. And as a parent, sometimes you want to just give in and please them, but that's not the solution, guys. That's not it. That's why we have this channel. That's why I'm grateful for your support in your community. You need to get out there, share this message, tag a friend in this video, share this video with someone. We have many other expert interviews to help add some credence and credibility to this message that people don't need to suffer a life of type 2 diabetes, of obesity, of hypertension, of morbidity and reduced vitality from obesity. And as I said earlier, it's interesting, we're filming this on Veterans Day. I feel called to kind of share this because people literally lost their lives for their country. And their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren are being poisoned by big food companies who really don't give a crap, about your great-grandchildren or your grandchildren or your neighbor's grandchildren or children. It's scary. It's scary. And Deanna, in the schools, how bad are the schools? In terms, there's birthday parties and sugar and crap everywhere, guys. We're fighting an uphill battle. So I'm so grateful that you're a part of this message, a part of this new wave of understanding. I feel like we're coming into a better awareness about this, about the deleterious effects of processed food. So I'm just super grateful that you're here. And to help kind of acknowledge you, I'm going to get to your questions. So let's see what kind of questions you got. And hopefully the stream's okay. You never know with these things. Let me pop out the chat and see what's going down. Mario says he lives in Mexico and it's hard to shop a lot. Yeah, I know. Mario, what I found is like you had to get out of the major cities to be able to access eggs, and we had a little bit of chicken. We did have some fruit. That's the other thing that's interesting. It's like I wonder if the genetics in individuals in Central America and South America, how their hepatic HMG-CoA synthase and lyase, all these enzymes in the liver that are responsible for making ketone bodies. I wonder the genetic prevalence of that in those regions, because sugar is available and no harm against sugar, right? Whatever locally growing, I think it's okay as long as you're physically active and don't have insulin resistance or cancer. But we did have some dried mangoes, right? We bought some pineapple. They took some pineapple on it was like on a road somewhere. It was like a fruit stand. This pineapple soaked in cayenne pepper. Oh my gosh. Did you try that, Deanna?
What was that?
The cayenne peppers infused pineapple. It's out of this world good. Anyway, I love that. So someone says, what great things can you find? Yeah, so what I did find, there was a lot of avocados, a lot of nuts, so pecans, there was macadamia nuts, there was cashews. So in that warm environment, fruit, nut trees, nuts are almost like a fruit. They need a lot of heat to be able to produce that. And we're in Washington, in my backyard. I just planted this last season, so we don't have fruit yet, almonds and walnuts. So we'll see. We don't get that much heat in this region for that. So anyway, it's crazy. So let's see. Alejandro says, I am from Mexico. What do you know about our groceries? By the way, we live in our hands of supermarket. We don't eat like the movies or cartoons. Well, Alejandro, I did just show a video of me going to a grocery store. Now, it was just one grocery store. I'm not trying to trash Mexico at all. That's not the point of this video. The point is to illuminate the fact that really American food companies have infused their products and the perception that their products are superior to what people historically eat. And I think that's a shame. That's disappointing. I think anyone who, the elders in Mexico, the elders anywhere in Central America, South America, would be rolling in their graves. And as our elders and our ancestors would too here in the States. It's really, really sad. So, someone says you can use that as your shampoo. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff available on Amazon. Hey, from Costa Rica, so cool that you were here. Yeah, so what we did find when we went to Honduras, we bought a lot of water, because on the cruise ship there was all like plastic water bottles. So we went to this grocery store and they gave us this bag where they would have like raw salt. It was this big garment bag, and so we loaded that with water bottles and avocados and nuts and so forth. So that's what we did eat, and so it was great. Like going out, it was 100% homemade, hand rolled corn tortillas with avocado, with eggs, like some of the stuff that we did eat, like a quesadilla style. I thought that was really tasty, really yummy. So. Anyway, someone says they're reading Deep Nutrition. Yeah, so that I did refer to Kate, Dr. Kate Shanahan. We did a podcast with her. Gosh, it was almost 2 years ago now, 2017. So check that out on the channel if you're interested. So let's get into what breaks a fast and what doesn't break a fast. And it really depends upon, it doesn't depend. It depends on really what your goals are with the fast, right? So a lot of people are fasting for longevity. And so what we know is that when we do get incoming nutrients, the nutrient sensing receptors and enzymes and cellular mediators within the body do respond mostly to protein and carbohydrates, okay? So if you're going to have anything, I think maybe a touch of MCT, not too much. You want to rely upon and draw upon your own body fat reserves when you're fasting. That's kind of the point, to really drive insulin low and create this metabolic, hormonal, nutritional milieu that fosters the liberation of energy on your own body instead of drawing it from the food that you eat. So that's the whole goal. Now, we do know that nutrient recepting enzymes, processing, things in the body and so forth, will become activated when there is protein or carbohydrates. So, does black coffee, does just pure coffee, tea, people ask me about green tea, does green tea kick you out of a fast? Probably not. There's very minimal amount of carbohydrates or protein in green tea or black coffee, right? So that being said, if you put cream in your fast, you put coconut oil, you put sugar, you put sweetener, then we're talking about maybe sending messages to the body. And we don't know, upstream levels of mTOR and various nutrient recepting enzymes. I mean, it could be that just the cephalic phase of digestion, meaning that you're thinking about food's coming in, you're drinking a hot liquid that's non-water based, perhaps that does kind of kickstart the metabolic processes to tell the body that there is food coming in and it should prepare for the meal, and that might kick you out of a quote unquote fast. I don't think anyone really knows, but that being said, is having tea or coffee that's unfiltered, unflavored, is that going to kick you right out of is that going to spike insulin and affect all the other hormones involved in the fasting components that are linked with longevity? Probably not. So that's the thing. Now, a lot of people like bone broth, things like that. I think that's good for its mineral base, for its mineral content, because as you know, if you're low carb, high fat, or you're fasting, you're going to need more minerals in your diet, right? That's just part and parcel with the process due to the effect that insulin has on excreting sodium and various minerals and so forth. So you're going to need to get that electrolyte base from somewhere. So if that electrolyte base is from fasting or from bone broth and things, that's probably okay. What I personally do is like mineral water and add in Redmond real salt or various salts to my water to get in the electrolytes. Am I afraid of bone broth? No, but it's just, if I'm going to fast, I'm going to fast. If I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat. It's just kind of how it is, right? I like to just be extreme and not I'm going to fast, but I'm going to snack on this or eat this or whatever, or I'm going to eat, then undereat. It's like I'm going to do one or the other. That's kind of just my personality. I'm not saying that's what you have to do or what you need to do. It's just kind of how things work for me. So keep that in mind. It really depends, again, on the protein and on the sugar. That is going to trigger those nutrient sensing enzymes that will kickstart your body's metabolism and send the message that, hey, food's on board. Let's stimulate these metabolic processes, right? So you may not, be drawing upon your body's reserves, i.e. body fat and so forth. A question just came in before we started this video on cholesterol. Sorry, it was cortisol. Cortisol related to intermittent fasting. So it's not so much cortisol that's necessarily triggered unless you're having a blood sugar response. There might be a small amount of cortisol triggered, but what will be triggered, and it might feel as though cortisol is being triggered, is norepinephrine and epinephrine, right? These are also known as noradrenaline and adrenaline. So these are counter-regulatory hormones. They're actually part and parcel with the fat burning process, okay? So exercise is stressful. When you start exercise or when you fast, these hormones / neurotransmitters, neuromediators increase, guys. And that's part of the reason why after, at least for me and other, as Dave Feldman calls, lean mass hyper-responders, if lean mass hyper-responders, when you start to fast, okay, for an extended period of time, once I hit that 36, 40 hour window, it's hard for me to sleep that night because my norepinephrine and my adrenaline are increasing, my noradrenaline and adrenaline, okay? That's necessary to stimulate this lipolysis. So all the fat that we have, I don't know if you can see my hand, any fat behind the arms, around the belly, around the glutes, all that sort of stuff, guys, that needs to be liberated. Okay, so that comes through a process, hormone-sensitive lipase, these different enzymes are mediated there. Noradrenaline and adrenaline are needed for that, okay? So this is just part of the deal. And those neurotransmitters tend to be higher, in the morning. And so that might be why burning fat, you can burn potentially more fat if you exercise in the morning. So just keep that in mind. So that was a question that came in. Yeah, so let's see, what else? Laura had a question here or a comment about this. Dr. Bronner's soap, yeah. Let's see, what else we got? Yes, 521 says, yeah, either you feast or you fast. It's like, do one or the other. A lot of people are straddling in life. They don't like the idea of going without food, and I think it's part of the evolution of your metabolic flexibility. When you've been doing this for a while, when you've been exercising for a while, when you've been harnessing the power of deep sleep and prioritizing sleep, doing sauna therapy and intermittent fasting, then you start to become more comfortable with the idea that, you know what, I can go without food for an extended period of time, whether it be 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours, 5 days, and I'm not gonna fall apart. My life's not gonna crumble. I'm not gonna wake up and crave Twinkies. You're probably actually gonna feel better. But for that kind of an interim process when you're still trying to figure out, hey, can I do this? Is this going to work for me? That's where like a bone broth or something might come in, or microdosing or pulsing like some MCT oil, some exogenous ketones. Again, some of you hardcore people, that have been doing this 3+ years, you don't need to take this advice. This is for people that are kind of new to this, and they might feel that they're going to have a blood sugar crash, or they're not going to be able to have any energy. The body has a lot of compensatory processes and backup processes and redundancy to help you survive in times without food. And so you should be able to harness that with a fast, right? And I'm not saying everyone should jump into it. If you're a type 1 diabetic with triglycerides of 400 and a fasting blood sugar of 130, you probably shouldn't fast for 5 days right out of the gate, right? You might want to straddle and bridge a little bit with MCT oil or with bone broth, things like that, right? Just be smart about this, guys. And of course, we're not here to cure, prevent, or treat any disease. Always work with your licensed healthcare practitioner. I'm just here giving you some tools and tips from people that I've learned about over the years. All right. So Shannon has a great question here. She says, how long is the fast you are speaking about? Have you reviewed the research that shows that the third day you need protein to sweep up the cascade of toxins hitting the liver? Shannon, interesting. I've never heard of this sweeping cascade of toxins that hit the liver. Your liver is metabolizing toxins right now, as is mine, as is everyone listening to this and everyone that's not listening to this. Detoxification is a 24/7, 365 process. And in fact, I would say that when you're fasting, your body may not be detoxifying environmental toxins. What your body is actually doing is engulfing dysfunctional cells and dysfunctional mitochondria through a process known as autophagy and mitophagy, respectively. This is a process when the body's kind of cleaning house. It's trying to garner energy and stuff that's non-needed. We probably, unfortunately, sadly, a lot of us have low-dose cancer growing inside our body at any given time. There's a lot of people, oncologists and researchers in immunology that talk about that. But thanks to autophagy and mitophagy, our body can clean up a little bit. And that is the intention, that is the reason why a lot of us should be embarking on periodic fasting. How's my volume, guys? How's the tone? How's everything going? So this third day, sweeping all the toxins, I don't know about that. But what I do know about the third day is norepinephrine and adrenaline are going to be very high, as is your ketones, as is your fat-burning lipolytic process. Like you've depleted all your glycogen within your liver. You've probably depleted all your, again, remember I spoke about the redundancy of the body. So you have liver glycogen. I think it's about 200 grams or so, right? There's only about 4 grams of glucose within the bloodstream. So once you start to burn through those carbs, right, in the bloodstream, the liver's like, okay, here's some more sugar, here's some more sugar, here's some more sugar. Then once the liver's dumped with sugar, then it's like, okay, muscles, you got it, it's your turn. Get rid of your glycogen. Once that's depleted, right, then we're going to increase gluconeogenesis, so your glucose is going to go up. That's a normal thing, guys. This is totally normal. Don't be scared of that. What you want to be scared of is a very high glucose if you're in ketosis, right, for ketoacidosis, right? Or what you want to be, if you've been doing keto for a while and you still have very high glucose, then maybe something's wrong. But it's normal, right? Particularly when you're fasting or if you're a low-carb athlete, for your glucose to skyrocket. It's totally normal. And when I say skyrocket, I don't mean 400 milligrams per DL. I'm talking, maybe 120, 130. Sometimes in the sauna, my glucose gets to 153. But it drops right back down right after. That's a normal response because I don't have a lot of stored glycogen necessarily because I'm not eating a lot of carbohydrates. So I can burn through those quickly after exercise, after a sauna. Then my body has increased gluconeogenesis so that it's making sugar from anew. Totally not scared of that. It's totally fine. Afterwards, I dip right back down and my ketones rise, right? So what I was saying, I think it was Linda had the question or Shannon had the question about the third day. I don't have any research. There's actually no research that I know, and I look at this research a lot to show that there's this flux of toxins that occur. There might be. Again, this is something that maybe naturopathic doctors talk about, so it's valid. They've found over the years that is the case after a 3-day fast. What I found is after a 3-day fast, there's definitely an increase in noradrenaline and adrenaline, and sleeping becomes a little bit more challenging. That could be different for everyone. But bowel movements are key. So Shannon, you brought up a great question. Sometimes our bowels do become a little bit stagnant when we're fasting, and I do recommend always keeping your bowels moving, because if your bowels are not moving, your body it's called enterohepatic recirculation, where you're recirculating your hormones that are being dumped and conjugated within your liver. And when those recirculate, those persistent organic pollutants and so forth, that's bad. Okay, we've talked a lot about that with David Jockers, so refer to those videos if you would like more content on that. So that's what I would say about that. Make sure your bowels are moving, increase. Make sure that you're calm. You're trying to induce some sort of active relaxation. So that can be meditation. That can be Tai Chi. That can be going in the sauna. I'm trying to calm down right now. That can be yoga. That can be a million different, that can be just belly breathing. All those things are going to help you increase your parasympathetic tone, which will help you move your bowels more, as will minerals, magnesium, water, electrolytes, things along those lines. So let's see here. Someone says, I literally don't get hungry, and I'm not alone on that. Xavier, yeah, that is so true. I hear that from so many people. I do trust it. I'm telling you my experience. Thanks for being here, guys. Spive is always there. Spive says, great audio and video. Cool. That's really, really awesome. Joshua Webb says, I've heard of that. My body gets rid of more toxins while fasting. May need more water while dry fasting. Yeah, that's great. More water, also more electrolytes as well. Josh, great question. Okay, so Dennis has a question. I get headaches around 20 minutes into a weightlifting session. I've had a small fruit beforehand to prevent it. I've been keto 2 years. I'm wondering what's up with that. Dennis, that's super interesting. Anytime you have a headache or some abnormal thing like that, I would definitely see your doctor just to make sure. You might maybe want to get like an MRI, something like that. Deanna's sister did pass away from a brain tumor, and she used to have these random headaches. And, the doctors kind of brushed it off as growing pains. And unfortunately, by the time they figured it out, it was inoperable. So I would not ignore any repetitive head type situation. But that being said, it could be that you're new to exercise. It could just be that the exertion, could be your level of hydration. There's a lot of different things. So tinker and test with that on the intensity, vary the intensity, try to figure it out. And, if you can't get to the bottom of it, work with a specialist for sure, because that's something you don't want to ignore. But that's a good question. I found sometimes I do get headaches. Not like, I wouldn't classify it necessarily as a headache, but I can feel like my head pounding when I do intervals and I'm a little dehydrated. So, it depends on your type of exercise. Someone says thoughts on a dry fast. 100%. You have my approval on that, and so forth. Joshua says, what about how to keep the bowels moving without food? Joshua, that's a really good question. What I would suggest is your good electrolytes, your minerals, things along those lines. And if you're having more issues, coffee enemas can be great. And I'll go back and put a link to the videos that we did, talking about coffee enemas and so forth with Marisol Trujillo and so on. So I think that's about it. So someone says, does living in a hot climate and or using the sauna reduce brown fat? That's a really good question. Thanks for that, Dulce. Using the sauna is not going to reduce your brown fat. What is going to increase your brown fat activation is exposure to cold stress and possibly ketones in general. So as you know, we recently did a vlog with Ben Bickman. Go check it out. It's on the main video of this channel. He talks all about how ketones induce brown adipose tissue activation. It's really an exciting topic. It's super cool. So go check out that video, guys. If you're here right now, I think you'll really enjoy it. He gets into that around minute 7 or so. It's pretty fascinating. So Dina says, I'm having surgery soon and don't like taking pills. Is there a natural way to manage pain after surgery? Gosh, Dina, well, you're not required by your doctor or any healthcare practitioner necessarily, take this with a grain of salt, to take all those pills, right? They're there so that it's more comfortable for you. I have a family member that's getting surgery on Monday, actually, a week from today. And she is in the same boat, doesn't want to ingest a lot of pills and so forth. And so she's only going to take the bare minimum. So I have a lot of people that they have this perception because their doctor prescribed them 24 Oxycontin or 24 Vicodin. They feel like they have to take all of them. No, that's in the case of an antibiotic. When your doctor prescribes you an antibiotic, it's good to run the full course because you can kill off the strains that might develop some antibiotic resistance. And actually, an antibiotic is one of the times that you don't want to skimp out on the dosing. You really want to adhere to the protocol. A lot of people take an antibiotic for a little while, they feel better, they stop taking it, and the bugs have mutated the first couple days of the antibiotic, gotten stronger Then they come back and they have some sort of antibiotic-resistant bug. You don't want that. When it comes to pain pills, those friends, you're not required to take all of them. It's an optional thing based upon your own pain threshold and how painful the post-surgery recovery period is. So I would suggest you don't take all of them because there's obviously a high correlation with dependency. So many people get hooked on Oxycontin and opiate-based, what do you call it? Pain meds, I guess, but I was looking for the fancier, medical jargon word for pain meds. People get hooked on narcotic-based pain meds because they did take the full course when they didn't need it and they started to like it and they got hooked on it and then they, guess what, start doing heroin, start injecting heroin, they get hooked. I mean, this is the biggest epidemic, this, what we call iatrogenesis. This is, a supposedly healing-induced epidemic, right? Where we have this iatrogenic drug use because of people went in like yourself and got a procedure, took a few pills, they liked it, they took a few more, they went back to the doctor, said, hey, yeah, my elbow still hurts, give me some few more, and boom, they're hooked on this stuff. So that's not good. Joshua says his wife hates surgery, she gets a bunch, and so forth. It takes her 6 months to get back to 100%. All right, so Whole Picture Home says, is intermittent fasting appropriate for those with adrenal fatigue and already high levels of cortisol? Will it make issues worse? Analgesics, yeah, thanks. That was the word I was looking for. Thanks for that. So, adrenal fatigue. Well, there's various reasons why, and let's just reclassify adrenal fatigue. Hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis dysfunction. It's not that your adrenal is just pooped out. It's that the messages to your brain are not properly communicating, probably due to too much life stress, to blood sugar imbalances. So I think intermittent fasting and time-restricted feeding can actually be helpful for those of us that have HP axis dysfunction. Now, you might need to get some baseline health in order, start exercising, making sure your sleep cycles are good, get a good energy levels and some consistency in some area of your life. But then what you can start to do is just start to slowly just take one meal away. And I would suggest actually starting with dinner. So eating maybe a little bit of breakfast because that's when you could be a little feeling off and so forth. Have maybe a late lunch and then cut it off early and start that way. You actually might find that it improves your sleep and allows you to recover better. A lot of people eat too late before they go to bed. They sleep like crap. They think they have adrenal fatigue because they really slept like crap. And then they're saying, well, I can't fast, when really any doctor or healthcare practitioner that talks to you about adrenal fatigue will agree with you that sleep, prioritizing sleep, getting good deep sleep is part and parcel with the recovery process for that condition. So that's what I would suggest is being very consistent with your meals for a little while, making sure you're getting a lot of good deep sleep. My Oura Ring is actually charging right now. They just had a firmware update. Where is it? It's right behind this table somewhere. But I would get an Oura Ring, make sure you're getting your good deep sleep, which, by the way, guys, our Juve light, I've been doing that before bed, and oh my gosh, my deep sleep is on point. So that can be helpful for you. So that's about it. As always, friends, if you're still here, if you enjoy this content, please hit that like button, share this with a friend or family member, text someone that you know that unfortunately feeds their kids fast food, and maybe this will inspire them. Make sure if you're not subscribed to the channel, we have a great new video launching tomorrow, part 2, with Dr. James DiNicolantonio. We're talking all about good fats, bad fats, how you can burn more fat, taking omega-3 supplements, and much more. I think you'll really enjoy it. So I'm gonna sign off, guys. I really, as always, we've been on for 38 minutes, which is crazy. I'm grateful that you're here. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.